We admit everyone. Right. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's Catalyst 2030 session. Before I start, I'd like to first pass a video to kind of present to the audience, for the one that doesn't know, who is Catalyst 2030. So let me share my screen.
Catalyst 2030 is a movement of social entrepreneurs and innovators embracing collective action to achieve the SDGs by the deadline of 2030. Our 1,500 members are active in 197 countries. By emphasizing collaborations, Catalyst 2030 is leveraging the power of the collective to accelerate real change in the lives of billions of people around the globe. What do our members say about Catalyst?
Catalyst 2030 is an invaluable global community of impact entrepreneurs.
Our relationship with Catalyst 2030 has really taught us the power of co-creation.
Join Catalyst 2030 and network, bond, and collaborate with our family members.
And I like the spirit of bringing change makers together to share and learn from each other.
Catalyst really understands the transformative nature of collaboration.
It's also a platform that can give us new tools and resources.
Catalyst 2030 has put my work on steroids.
But most importantly, to come up with solutions that are practical, ways where we can really make things happen, because social entrepreneurs are doers.
Are you a catalyst? Join us to achieve the SDGs.
All right. So we're back with everyone. So yes, good evening again, and I have to say also good morning, because one of our speakers, Faiz, is joining us from Los Angeles, and it's 4 a.m. for him. So thank you again, Faiz, for being part of this important session. I'd like to start maybe by presenting myself. My name is Nataron. I'm from Cambodia. I'm the director of an organization called Energy Lab. We work toward clean energy adoption in Cambodia. And I'm also the founder of Platform Impact, which work to support the social enterprise ecosystem growth in the country. I will be your session facilitator today, together with Jack. And Jack, would you like to say a few words before I continue?
No, you continue. I think I will have a chance to speak afterwards. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So maybe a few housekeeping points. This is a recorded session. So the session possibly will be made available, I think, on the Catalyst 2030 website at later stage. We are going to be together for about a bit less than 1 hour and a half. I will be doing timekeeping. I will really try to respect everyone's schedule, because I know it's getting also late in some country, neighboring country. Please do mute yourself if you're not speaking, and also please, to the possible extent, of course, try to be concise when you share an idea, so that we respect everybody's time. So I wanted once again to thank Catalyst 2030 for making this session possible. And this is really, I believe, a first of its kind, to put together different countries in the ASEAN and share our experiences about our respective ecosystem. The purpose of that session, beyond sharing information and knowledge, is really to be able to identify concrete actions that we can, where we can leverage some of the Catalyst 2030 resources in order to benefit our country social enterprises ecosystem. Okay, so it's an ambitious goal. We have 1 hour and a half, but I believe that we will be able to put some, hopefully, good action in traction. All right. So I'd like also to share an overview of the agenda tonight. So after this very short introduction, we'll have, I will be calling for speakers from each country that they represent, and they will present themselves and how they perceive the social enterprise ecosystem in their own country. They will have about 5 minutes to do that. And we can either wait for every one of you to kind of present, or if there are any burning questions, sorry, they can also happen after the presentation of each speakers. There is no need for any PowerPoint presentation, but if any of you feel the need to use one, please do feel free to do so. Okay, so that presentation of each country and speakers organization will be a bit less than an hour, and at 8 we will really deep dive into what we can see as follow-up action, and we will wrap up. Thank you very much. So I'd like to invite maybe our first speaker, Denise from Vietnam, to take the floor. Denise,
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nataun, for giving me the floor. My name is Denise. I'm the CEO of Tide Consulting. We are specialized in HR training, but I'm also on my free time, the representative of Trash Hero, which is a global community that organizes cleanups to raise awareness on our consumption habits. I've been based here for 5 years, and so I've always been closed and observing the social enterprise ecosystem. And there are 3 key points that I found that are strengths in the Vietnamese social enterprise ecosystem, which is the hustling mindset. Vietnam has a very rich history. They've been invaded, I would say, occupied by the French for 100 years, then the US. So they have a very heavy, strong history background. And it created in today's world a very hustling mindset where people are really willing to do things and to move forward, to make a change at their own scale. The second key strength is that there is a strong solidarity in the social enterprise community. So they help each other quite a lot, but not at the high scale, because all the social enterprise are quite small or to medium size. So I would say it's very dispersed. It's a dispersed community. So only the social enterprise that know each other will help each other. Also, it's a great country to try and test stuff, test solutions on the ground, because of the hustling mindset. It's very easy to try solutions at a limited cost. It's very easy to go from 0 to 1 here. So those are the 3 key strengths that I have seen. In terms of untapped potential, there are quite a lot. The biggest one, I would say, is the financial resources coming from the legal status, because the social enterprise status here is quite heavy. There is no tax incentives, no incentives to become a social enterprise. So there are a lot of social enterprise that are social enterprise in what they do, but not on the paper. And there's a lot of administration and paperwork related to that. In terms of financial resources, the fact that there are social enterprise doesn't help them to attract donations. A lot of donations are coming to NGOs rather than social enterprise, and they lack of network in terms of distribution. So if anybody knows how to create distribution channels that are sustainable on the long term, where the social enterprise that produces products in Vietnam that can be distributed in the Western countries or even the ASEAN zone, that would be great to share that with us, because that's something that they are really struggling with. So that's it for me for the social enterprise ecosystem. In terms of how and concrete actions that I can provide as me, Denise, I can help on connecting people together across the region, and also provide coaching sessions to social entrepreneurs, so that I can support them in terms of mindsets, in terms of business structuring, in terms of teamwork and organization, internal organizations. So yeah, that's it for me in Vietnam. I give the floor back to Natarun. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, thank you so much, Denise. You have been so concise, to the point, and respecting really like the format. Thank you very much. So is there anyone that has any burning question from Denise? I have a few, but I'll park them for later. And if no burning question, then I'd like to invite the second speaker. So that will be now then Jack from Singapore to take the floor. Jack, please.
Hey, thank you very much. So I'm from Singapore, and normally I'm called Mr. Toilet because of my work in the past doing sanitation. I created the UN World Toilet Day, and now every year we have a world meeting, World Toilet Summit, and we're solving sanitation around the world. So I work in Cambodia, a little bit in Vietnam, did not continue. So mostly we are advocacy. So if you have sanitation issues and all that, you can use me. I'm normally known as Mr. Toilet. Then I have a second organization, which is now 2 years very active. It's called the BOP Hub. So this Base of Pyramid Hub is to help all of you if you have business model that you need to import from another place. Let's say there's a problem in your country that you try to solve, but not good enough. So you want to copy the idea from other people. Then I go and help you find who is the best in class. There are people, for example, midday meals for children to go to school that we found very good one in India, and we are trying to replicate that Indian one into Bangladesh. So they have 1.9 million meals, and we can replicate to another 3 million meals per day, right? And if you have, for example, such needs, we can just connect. So it's for free. The service is for free. We want to help. In terms of the Singapore landscape, it is one of the most funded. That means anybody who wants to start a social enterprise in Singapore, just submit a good plan. And if it makes sense and the team looks serious, then they will get the 50,000 Singapore dollar, which is like 35,000 US dollar free of charge. No equity, nothing, no need to return back, just free, right? And there is no limit to the number of teams. As long as there's good ideas, they will get the 35,000 US dollar for free. And so last year I incubated 10 teams, and as at now is 1.5 years later, we have 4 teams surviving, and all additional funded. And one of the team, which is the rooftop vegetable farming, has already 2.2 million Singapore dollar funded, which is very, very good, right? So in terms of funding, Singapore is a good place, and there is no limit to the growth, right? You can get continuous growth as long as your social enterprise is a profitable one or have a potential to grow. So please come to me. I have put my email on the chat, jacksim@worldtoilet.org. And if you want money, you have to partner with a local social entrepreneur. And there are also another enterprise program where you don't even need to be a social entrepreneur. You can be a for-profit. As long as you want to do business, they will give you 35,000 US free of charge. And they will teach you. So there is a social enterprise training, there is network, there's events. And so I have built a space in Singapore. It's a 65,000 square foot building, which is $7 million US of my own personal money. And I want to create that place to be kind of like a World Trade Center for the poor. So we want to turn the poverty into a marketplace. In terms of bylaw and all that, because Singapore don't have much problem, poor people are so few, most of my work is about going to Asia and work with the other people. So wherever you need help, just contact me. But don't come to me for NGO type of work. Yeah, come for social enterprise. That means profitable and impactful. I'm ready to help all of you. Thank you very much.
Jack, thank you so much. And actually, you started already with how is your role in terms of contributing to grow this social enterprise ecosystem space beyond Singapore, but already offering, you know, support to the whole region. Could you maybe?
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah. Would you mind, Jack, sharing maybe in your mind what are some key characteristics about the social enterprise ecosystem in Singapore specifically, and what do you see, you know, as opportunity for growth there?
So one of the problem of Singapore is that there is not much problem. The government has been very efficient. It's been here last 61 years. They are the ruling party without change. Every 5 years we elect, but we elect them back again. And so the country is very stable and very wealthy. It's like the 4th richest country per capita income in the world. So what happened is that the people are comfortable and they're not very creative. Because when you're very comfortable, you're not very creative. So we need to look for the problem that other people have to solve it. And what I think is that if we can convert all the problem into business solution, then I think it works, because the NGO one doesn't work. We see every year about 150 billion US dollar donated by charity, by foreign aid, and nothing happened. They're very expensive overheads and all that, you know. So when we look at Singapore turn from third world to first world, 1965 Singapore GDP is same as Kenya. So in 1965 we are so poor like Kenya, and after 25 years in 1990 we are the 4th richest country per capita in the world. So I think this model is very replicable. So the psychology of the people is that it's not difficult to get out of poverty as long as you do business. So the social entrepreneurship mindset has been all the time like that. When we got kicked out by Malaysia, we were part of the federation, and Malaysia didn't want us to be part of their country. So we became independent. We don't have water, don't have energy, don't have food, don't have land. We only have workers. So the social entrepreneur mindset is very, very strong here.
Thank you very much, Jack, for the very also concise contribution and very helpful. So we've heard about Vietnam, and we've heard from Singapore as well. So maybe, Tommy, you can tell us a bit more about yourself and about the ecosystem in Indonesia, if you like.
Sure. Thank you so much, Natron. So my name is Tommy Ciptajaya. I'm a co-founder and CEO of Green Hope. We are a green technology social enterprise with a mission to, with SDG number 12, moving the society towards more responsible and sustainable consumption and production. We do this by our own proprietary technology to create a better behaving materials to replace plastic. to really help fight the really massive problem with the plastic waste pollution. And we do this by identifying also abundant locally sourced material, such as, for instance, in ASEAN situation, starch that come from tapioca is one of the most promising, and that we can turn into bioresins. And we work with 40 or 50 different factories around the world. We export to more than 10 countries now around the world, or to have downstream finished products, be it from shopping bags, food trays, seedling bags, trash bags, anything to replace conventional plastics with a better behaving, more sustainable, less carbon footprint material that is also good for the farmer. So we try to build our business model such that it brings positive impact to environment and to society as well. Now, in terms of the Indonesian social entrepreneurship scene, I would say in general, it's quite fragmented, relatively young, but rapid growth everywhere, driven by young people, driven by purpose-driven entrepreneurs. There seems to be a growing consciousness that I want to create not only good commercial business, but good business that solve the problems. And funny hearing from my old friend Jack there, Singapore, like problems, Indonesia is swamped with problems. So anywhere you see left, right, and center, there's always problems. Pollution, waste, everything. Hello? Yes. So that's that is the that's why we have lots and lots of purpose-driven companies, but there is no legal framework yet. Government tried to work on it in 2015 to 2018. We were involved on it at some point, but it got sidelined due to the priorities on all the other things that we are facing as a government. Again, we have too many problems if Singapore has no problem. There are a lot of enablers such as Ashoka, Impact Hub, so a lot of funders such as angel investments that are specifically targeting for positive impact companies. But one recent trend that we notice is that increasingly there's blurred limits between traditional VC investing in commercial companies to VC starts to invest a lot on companies with social and environmental mission. And these companies also start to take VC investment as well. Before they will look at VC investment as, you know, you're always tech and expecting lots of growth and squeeze the customers and everything. But right now we see a lot of starting to merge, and the founders like the discipline that the VC bring, the best practice, the market access, and the VC seems to see that the sustainability part actually translate to business sustainability as well. I thought that is an interesting trend. Some of the VC, prominent VC also starts to have head of sustainability, head of ESG. So they really try to manage their company's portfolio through the ESG metrics, the right ESG metrics, not just kind of like greenwashing and stuff. So that is an interesting trend. Because at the end of the day, I think my heart is with Jack also that social enterprise should not be like a separate, like a niche sect here. We won't be able to move the planet in the right direction if we are always niche, right? This needs to be a mainstream. And if all understand this, have the spirit of social entrepreneurship, we believe then there will be the moving of the needle that we're all looking for. So that's a little bit about Indonesia. Hopefully it's clear. Yeah.
Very, very clear, Tommy. And we've heard a lot of the potential and the transformation as well related to the VCs. Do you see any constraint or any bottlenecks that need to be overcome as well to balance that very strong picture you gave?
I think at the end of the day, a lot of us founders, right, we need to reflect a lot and make sure we create safeguards against mission drift. And, in the US or whatever, there's the B Corp movement and all kinds of certification and everything to ensure that we operate under certain guardrails, right? Because yes, there's capital and there's some VC comes in and support us and everything. But when the tension starts to happen between growth, profitability, social impact, and people starts to cut or sacrifice and stuff like that, how will people make the trade-off, right? So that safeguard is always important, and that is not always easy for any founders. And And two, the constraint is talent. Talent is always constrained. And when you compete with a lot of tech companies, a country like Indonesia with 270 million people, a lot of our tech companies are valued at what, $30 billion and so forth, right? And it's massive. Once they find a product market fit, the replication through the tech solution is very, very relatively simple. That's why the valuation can be so crazy. So competing with these people, imagine, for the right talent, for the good talent. Okay, who's the do-gooders here try to help the society and the environment? And or you can go to hottest tech companies. So the youngsters needs to be inspired more. And at the end of the day, we need to be able to compete also from talent and compensation perspective. And that is not easy. Yeah.
Excellent, Tommy. Thank you very much for sharing as well those very balanced picture about Indonesia. And we'll get back to you in a minute. But in the meantime, we'd like also to hear now from Malaysia and from Faith as well. Faith, would you like to share with us a bit the picture in terms of Malaysia?
Hi, everyone.
About yourself as well? Thanks.
Thanks, Nat. My name is Faiz from Malaysia. I run a social enterprise called AstroX. Basically, our social mission is to promote the knowledge of science and space to school children across Malaysia. And today's topic, thank you for inviting me over. I just give a general snapshot of the state of social entrepreneurship in Malaysia. I'll begin with the good news. I suppose Malaysia last month, we just launched our second social enterprise blueprint. And this blueprint, the objective is basically to strengthen the ecosystem and also to promote growth. The first blueprint, as mentioned, Jack attended, was in 2015 with the same objectives as well. And at that time, there were only about 100 social enterprises in Malaysia. And the objective was to get at least 1,000 social enterprises by 2018. And what happened in 2018, the British Council produced a report that states there were about 20,000 or more social enterprises operating in Malaysia. But this is based on their, methodology in terms of research, where they included SMEs, small and micro businesses, and also, NGOs. So it could be a bit inaccurate. So to address that issue, then Ministry of Entrepreneurial Development, MED, now it's called MEDAC, launched the Social Enterprise Accreditation program. And, social enterprise could access networks through MED. They could gain basically tax exemptions for donors, and ultimately, have a financial privilege in terms of grants or funding. But to date, there's only, about 414 registered social enterprises in Malaysia, and only 12% are accredited. So maybe the scheme is not too attractive. And also we have the issue of the pandemic. So early on in 2020, Magic sort of had a survey out and indicated that, the results, the findings showed that about 47% of social enterprises in Malaysia will not be able to sustain more than 6 months, and only 3% will be, sustainable more than 1 year. But, Malaysian social enterprises are a resilient bunch, and, they quickly, empirical findings indicate that the prominent social enterprises sort of pivoted and help the healthcare system to cope with the stress of the pandemic, where there are some social enterprises that invented semi-ventilators. There were some that had food provisioning for the poor and the needy, and producing PPEs and face masks. So this is a general indication to how the movement is going in Malaysia. But I think World Economic Forum also has, pivoting should not be the only sort of action that social enterprises take during the pandemic. So they have suggested that social enterprises across the world should sort of forge new partnerships with corporations, but not just major corporations. You can also have multi collaborations with other social enterprises. And for example, I think a good example is Goal, which they effect the organization, a social enterprise in Malaysia called Goal. They basically help the autistic community. So they, instead of selling cookies, they move on to doing like corporate hampers, and they put in products from other social enterprises. So this basically creates awareness of the social entrepreneurship sector to the public in Malaysia. And moving forward, when you talk about sustainability, right? I think to be sustainable, to recap, right? I think on the ground level, what Malaysia needs to do is probably offer entrepreneurial courses, you know, to the masses, or maybe to the leaders of social enterprises, or maybe refugee leaders, so that, you know, basically we can affect change in that way. And, you know, at the top level, Malaysian government should work with, you know, global organizations like Catalyst 2030 to basically encourage, you know, how to transform the ecosystem to be stronger, to promote the growth. So that's it. To recap, you know, Malaysia, we just launched our second blueprint. Number two, we are not sure how many social enterprises are there because of sustainability issues due to pandemic. And there were also reports from, I think, Social Enterprise UK, a year after the pandemic, something like 47%, you know, not really operating at the optimum level, and only 18% of social enterprises are working pre-pandemic level. So in Malaysia, there could be a lot of social enterprises that have shut down. So we don't know the actual numbers, and to address the sustainability, you know, those are the sort of recommendations that we need to address in terms, you know, to how to let the social enterprises in Malaysia operate in a manner that can be sustainable in the post-pandemic era. So that's it from me, and I hope that has been, you know, insightful to the rest. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Faiz. Very, very insightful. Actually, would you mind, for the one of us that are not familiar with the second blueprint, because, you know, policies and regulation are always important to shape the ecosystem. Could you say just a few words about what is the second blueprint about? What are its goals? Is that possible?
Oh yeah, the second blueprint is you know, achieving up to 2030. So the first 5 years, they're just looking at strengthening the ecosystem, and the second part is creating growth. So they have sort of 5 pillars and 42 initiatives. So it's kind of comprehensive and lengthy. And I think they should address, you know, issues in terms of the legal entity, registration of legal entity of social enterprises in Malaysia. Right now, you can go online and register yourself. If you follow certain criteria, you can be called a social enterprise. But what are the benefits? You know, people will say, you know, why should I do this if I'm not going to get anything tangible out of being listed as a social enterprise? So, you know, I think the government should look into maybe more, you know, attractive schemes so that social enterprises will register. In terms of maybe some social enterprises have said that you can give tax exemptions to the donors. Some of the business transactions, people will want exemption from it, but it's actually, you know, a business transaction. And if you build a community center, just say like a hub in Singapore, how do you offset your tax? You know, because you actually are helping, you know, the underserved communities by building a center, but you're not getting, you know, any exemption for it. How about, you know, some people have said, can you offset my secretarial fees or my, you know, my audit fees? So these kind of things are probably the Malaysian government, MIDAC, they need to look into in terms of strengthening the ecosystem, and this should be, you know, part of the blueprint as well. So that's just my take, you know, anyway. So, you know, as Catalyst 2030, we need to look at all these, I think, areas that how we can improve the ecosystem.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Faiz. But the
welcome, Nat.
Yes, the fact that there is kind of an actionable a document that serves as a strategy or a roadmap, you know, to implement concrete action is great. I mean, good for Malaysia. And I can see in the comments that apparently the Catalyst 2030 Malaysia chapter play an important role. So is that something as well that could be done in other countries? Maybe you know, we can maybe discuss that in the second time of our session. So in the meantime, I'd like maybe now to invite the Philippines and maybe Ria, if you like, to share with us the great work you do, as well as Marco, and also a few thoughts on the ecosystem there.
Hi, thanks, Nat. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Ria San Gabriel, co-founder of Panublix, a tech platform giving designers reliable and transparent access to tropical textiles and artisan crafts so they can design for the conscious fashion consumer. Actually, so much similarities with the other Southeast Asian countries. And I feel like I resonate mostly with Indonesia. It's quite similar, but in a nutshell, yeah, social enterprises are growing in the Philippines, and probably because of our local situation where economic empowerment is very much needed. And the pandemic may actually have accelerated its growth. But like in other countries also, there's no one definition. We don't have a local certifying body of what is and what is not a social enterprise. So there are blurred lines and sometimes mislabeling. This is an old study, it's 2019, but according to ADB, so there were 165,000 social enterprises in the Philippines, which is 17% of the total registered businesses. So 71% of that are part of micro, small, and medium-sized businesses, and 6% are cooperatives. I'd say there's not much disparity in terms of gender with the founders. But me speaking as a female founder, we still experience discrimination, like I guess the rest of the female founders in whichever location. There's a British Council report, which also says that most social enterprises in the Philippines are product-based. So an opportunity is to develop more service-based enterprises. And unlike Singapore with very minimal problems, which I totally envy. So we're struggling with business registrations. Way of doing businesses needs better streamlining, which will be improved with better governance and policies. And I guess, of course, funding as well, especially for early stage ones. But our strength is in the network and community. So we have this Filipino value we call bayanihan, bayan, which means nation. So it's more of really communal unity in terms of achieving a goal. So in our ecosystem, social enterprises are really helping each other. I'd like to check with Marco if Marco has anything to add.
Thank you, Ria. Hi, everyone. Just by way of quick introduction, my name is Marco, founder of FundLife. We were actually set up initially as an NGO working in education space. And one of the challenges, like many have said already, is there isn't, just touching on what Ria said, although there's a very large number of social enterprises, I think access to funding, I think access to actual accelerators or ecosystems where these micro enterprises can scale doesn't really exist right now, and especially for non-for-profits who are traditionally set up as funding-based organizations. I think the transition for those people that want to move into more of a revenue-generating organization, that isn't really common here. So I think one of the challenges is for our organization is that we would like to transition and having these conversations with our donors to essentially look at a different type of funding. Again, just following on from what Jack said, I think we've seen a lot of international aid go to a lot of NGOs who typically do the work just to sort of get rid of the money and then just to reapply again a year later. We're finding there's a bottleneck of funders who are willing to be a little bit more risk taking in actually funding early stage organizations that want to try something new. So yeah, not too dissimilar from what sort of others have said around the whole landscape across the region.
Okay, thank you very much, Ria and Marco. Very interesting point, Marco, as well, that you raised at the end, that transition toward the NGOs and toward more sustainability. Some of them they want, but it's difficult to kind of operationalize it for a different reason. And I think it's an interesting point as well to discuss. All right, so I'm the last one. So again, I'm Natarun from Cambodia. I work as a director for Energy Lab. Energy Lab is supporting the growth of clean energy markets and clean energy innovation as well. So if anyone is interested in clean energy, please feel free to reach out to me. And with my second hat, which I play during evening time and weekends, I'm the co-founder of Platform Impact. So we are an organization that try to accelerate the growth of the social enterprise ecosystem, and we do that in a different way. One of our programs, funded by two big donors, is looking at scaling up, basically, what we call impact enterprises. And I really like the discussion saying that, you know, social enterprise shouldn't be a niche, but it should be mainstream, and we should think really about, you know, a more sustainable economy and how basically those actors that are enterprises, how they can contribute better to that more sustainable economy. Our ecosystem, I would qualify it first as very urban. It's mainly centralized around the capital, Phnom Penh. Also, the reach of the social enterprises can, of course, go into the rural areas. But yeah, very focused urban ecosystem. I would qualify it as mature, the ecosystem. It's been already a few years, I would say a decade in Cambodia. So capable, you have kind of historical actors there. I heard that you mentioned Impact Hub in other countries. So they're there, they're really one of the pioneers. And then you have also rising actors. So you have She Investment, kind of an organization that focuses only on gender. I heard Ria mentioning about, you know, the gender important dimension, and the platform impact. So the enterprise I just mentioned before. There is also a very solid supporting ecosystem. Please, the person that is not muted, actually, I'm going to mute. Okay. So there are also a very strong institutional supporters. So you cited many of them, but this ecosystem has grown thanks to those donors. So USAID, Swiss Contact, Oxfam, UNDP, they're there. They provide technical assistance and funding, and those financial resources are needed to sustain the ecosystem to grow. And they also implement their donor program. The good thing is that they also try to give sustainability. It's not like, you know, like they have 4 years support and then they disappear. They really embed within the exit of their program some sustainability elements. They're also, we haven't mentioned them yet a lot, but they're also very active impact investors in Cambodia. Some of them are regional, some of them are in Cambodia. They are very important actors. And I have to say, there is a game changer in the landscape in Cambodia, and they are the organization is called Khmer Enterprise. So they are a game changer because first they're a public institution, they're attached to the Ministry of Economy and Finance, and they are funding, giving seed funding, grants to a variety of players. They do that very strategically, and they are very capable. So they really have a lot of leadership, the right vision, and they have been also, I would say, one of the important champion in that ecosystem that is really transforming it toward second stage. Now, in terms of the barriers, and it's important that those players are there. One is really scalability. One of the big donor critic that they put on the ecosystem is that there are a lot of fragmentation. Several of you have mentioned that, but a lot of those fragmented actors, it's very difficult for them to scale up their activities. And for that reason, donors, some of them are not that interested, you know, to continue the funding. So scaling up is an important dimension. And the other dimension is also impact. And some of you have mentioned it as well, you know, how you make sure that you safeguard and the mission doesn't drift. So there is a lot of now work being done in terms of impact measurement, but it's not enough. It has to be accentuated. It has to be mainstream. It has to be supported much more strongly. And I'll be happy to develop that further. And the last barrier, I echo several of the other countries as well, bottlenecks, is status. Registration, tax incentive. Today, we don't have any specific legal status. And that's many players in the ecosystem sees that as a constraint, but there are a few initiatives that are being forged, and hopefully we're going to get there. But definitely, we would be super happy to kind of learn from countries that have already advanced more than Cambodia on this. So that's all for Cambodia. And I'm now maybe happy to open it up for a Q&A session before we really then enter into the second part of this session, which will be discussing possible joint action. So the floor is back to all of you.
I have a request.
Yes, please.
Because as the conversation become interesting,
yep,
we would like to have the contact of each of you. So some people who might want to contact somebody else while they are talking. So if you feel comfortable, you put your email on the chat and the other people can contact you directly. Of course, you want to stay private, there's no problem. Yeah. So this way we can all work together. So because I was thinking that Ria is doing the yarn, and I don't know if she has the designer in the Philippines, because Filipinos are typically very creative. And I want to design a national dress in Singapore. We don't have one. We don't have a national dress, so we always go to Indonesia and buy their batik and wear. You know? So what about creating our own design? So this is something that could be, maybe we can collaborate between a Philippine and Indonesia designer and come up with a national dress for Singapore. I think it's possible. I've got some ideas. Yeah, so please, this is example, one idea how we can work with each other, and then your products can become quite a big scale. And
yes,
nobody makes anything in Singapore, so we have to buy from you guys anyway.
Yes. Thank you, Jack, for sharing, that opportunity. I think that's, a great collaboration possibility. I see Denise have raised a hand. So Denise, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I love Ria's like Filipino's culture about bayanihan. I love the spirit around it, and I think it's quite inspiring. I think that there's that spirit across ASEAN because we are in a very resilient region. I have a question that is very concrete and very, and I don't know if you have the answer, any of you, but is the United Nations able to do some lobbying with our governments, local governments, to implement, to improve the social enterprise status? Because it's been one of the bottlenecks, common bottlenecks that we all have, is that the legal status of social enterprise is not, doesn't have any attractivity. It's not, there's no incentives or anything like that. So is that the capacity from the Catalyst 2030 to raise the information from ground up to more higher level of the UN?
I can reply you this. I'm very familiar with the UN. First of all, I like to be very candid to tell you the UN is not the effective place. So what you do with the UN is you do all the work and then you get the UN to endorse you. You don't ask them to do any work. Okay. You do all the work, and then if you need some legitimacy, then you try to get some important agency to endorse you. But if you ask them to go and push government, they won't do that. And there's also, UN is getting very poor. Most UN agencies are getting very, very poor because recently after the pandemic, there was a big slashing of budget. They say all the UN are suffering because budget cut. NGO, social entrepreneurs, their budget all cut. So there is absolutely no money in the world except one kind of money, weapons money. They have a lot. With Ukraine, they suddenly have like 500 billion and how many A lot of money went to weapons. So you understand the prioritization of the world money is not a very logical one. Yeah. But coming to your point, if you want, I think that the first thing is not to say, oh, let's have a tax-free situation, or let's have a small little sweets, you know. The most important is how can we help you guys be profitable? How can we help you guys be more efficient so that you can go to big scale without a very big overheads? So per dollar of production, you can become very, very cheap. Because if you have no profit, even your tax-free, it doesn't benefit you, right? So try to think of how you can become profitable. So you can come up with some imagination, like, if it is like this, then I will be profitable. Okay, then you start to describe, you know. If the situation is I can sell $10 million a year, and I only employ 15 people or something like that, I will be profitable. So if you create this kind of supposition, then we'll start to work towards that end scenario, and then you become profitable. After that, whether they tax you or not doesn't matter, because you are already profitable. Yeah. So if some country says to company, you must buy from us because we are social entrepreneur, don't buy from the commercial people. Actually, it also doesn't work, because the corporate, they just buy. But if you were to say, we work together to give you a CSR story for your stock price to go higher, they'll be very interested, you know. Yeah. So the narrative of the collaboration is very important. The imagination of very, very much bigger than your current size is also very important. A lot of social entrepreneurs struggle because they don't learn from one another, because they can't, oh, this is my idea, and then only I can do it. But I think if we start opening, everybody share, I think this ecosystem, open-minded situation is much more than that. No, I want 100% of a small pie. Yeah.
Yes, Jack, thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to piggyback on Jack's comments and balance it a bit as well. I think the UN is also like any organization. You have the institution has some potential and limitation, but the individual within the institution make a big difference. And I think like, I don't know for other countries, and I know Tommy wanted to say something, but in Cambodia, for example, the UN office has a very dynamic, actually, resident coordinator. And the person is definitely supporting. I mean, if there is a role for the UN, and we can be strategic in saying, okay, so this is where UN can play a role, she will take it on. I'm very confident about this. And also the UN, so UN is a lot of different entities, right? And so the UNDP, the United Nations Development Program, they implemented, like, for 3 years a Blue Tribe, they call it a Blue Tribe, right? A program, an incubation program. And so there has been, you know, some successes, there has been some lesson learned, but I would say it really depends what is the status. So for example, in Vietnam, we would need to understand better what are the bottlenecks. And I think UN can play a role, but it really depends if they have done that already, if you have engaged with them already, and how you want to approach that. Yeah, so I don't want to develop too much, but I would say there are possibilities. And the second point, certainly I would think that because of Catalyst 2030 mandate and the SDG, right, as the main mission, I think Catalyst should be kind of an amplifier if we want to reach out at country level with the UN system. Okay, so I'm happy. I have some experience with the UN. I'm happy also to kind of provide you some advice at later stage. So yeah, to me, you wanted to say something, or not necessarily? Sorry, I see you.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Ria also raised her hand.
Ria, yes.
Okay, Ria, why don't you go first, and I'll be right after you. Yeah.
Right. In terms of social enterprises, among UN agencies, I think UNDP has the most participation in the Philippines, and they have a specific accelerator, which is really just for social enterprises. But in terms of lobbying, well, similarly with ILO, they have a program. They support enterprises who are into teaching women in STEM. Same for IOM, which helps women in post-conflict areas in terms of livelihood. But in terms of lobbying, we have the UN ESCA, so that's UN Economic and Social Commission for Asia Pacific. Although not really into social enterprises, but more of helping people get into the digital economy. So I know that they've been influencing lobbying in terms of in that aspect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ria. Sorry for not seeing your hands, and please, Tommy, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I just want to build to Jack's point about collaboration and open up our business models for each other. I think it is challenging in the case of Green Hope, for instance, right? Green plastics, sustainable materials and everything is pretty new. And even the definition of green is debatable by many different people, you know, and they think that their drug is the best and everybody else is greenwashing. And they spend tons of time trying to discredit one another instead of each working on your own and just prove it and with evidence and everything, right? But even in Green Hope, we are having challenges sometimes, not only internal talents, but when we do international business development. So this is probably something a place like Catalyst 2030 can help facilitate as well. We will be happy to be able to open up partnership or licensing or country offices in different countries. And the kind of talents that is required, though, is a little bit tricky in our space because we've had our own share of failures and successes. We notice that, look, people who are too commercials cannot work also because the story, the authenticity, how far their willingness to go, how to connect at heart's level and everything, they don't have it, right? But sometimes people who have tons of hearts, but they don't have the discipline, the business discipline, the commercial discipline, and how to walk, you know, successful social entrepreneurs is really a hybrid of those. And even I grow into that. I came from the commercial side, but I do want to go all the way there in helping and everything. Then I go all the way, but then I go to the middle after a while. So, but if we can find people who are like-minded and everything, we can collaborate. We can help set up each other's offices or marketing offices or having BOP hub in every country probably, right? No reason that we cannot create a marketplace of each other's products, and so maybe something like that is regionally might work. That could be interesting.
Okay, thank you very much, Tommy. I think we are already kind of entering, you know, those kind of actions that we can take that are very concrete. So one of them has been offered by Jack. So through BOP Hub, you know, there is some possible support that each country can receive. So please do engage with Jack and see what are the requirements so that that BOP Hub is asking for. So that's one very concrete action. I think let's continue as well to and please keep us all in the loop if something materializes. For example, from Cambodia, we have also been in touch with BOP Hub. There are some possible what we call sustainable supply chain linkages, right, between Singapore and Cambodia. We're exploring that, and we'll definitely update you once something materializes. A second component in terms of possible actions. So Denise was talking at country level, but we could think as well more collectively among at ASEAN level. Is there any, I mean, what could be the role that we want to give the UN system? So there would be different entry points, whether this is regional level at Bangkok, whether this is national level, whether this is maybe global level. This is a discussion we may want to have with Catalyst 2030 itself. But I want to follow up on this. What are the role and the goal that we want to engage with the UN system? What would they help us achieve collectively as country from the ASEAN? Would any of you have any idea or suggestions? Right. So I think it's a bit complex. Maybe one of the possibility is really the advocacy part in terms of in terms of the legal entity, right? Like how is the UN possibly having a voice there? Can possibly advocate for that, saying that there will be a benefit for each government to kind of accelerate the legal framework for social enterprise. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
Maybe we should ask for wish list, so everybody wish. It doesn't need to be possible. You just dream first, okay? You say, I wish this will happen, and then we work not with the UN but with Catalyst. I think it's easier because with Catalyst it's all of us, and we are controlling this. And I would say, very sorry that when I first begin to do social work 25 years ago, I was always thinking that the UN is a fantastic supporting thing, and I know UN escape. I go Bangkok so many times, their meeting is completely useless. And then I also speak at all the UNDP social enterprise lab and Gov lab and SDG lab, and they have a whole list of lab. It's basically just, efforts, but not actual focus on follow up, and after that what to do, and next, hands holding until the end. Is no, you just get a bunch of young people, buy them a ticket, go to hotel, do rara show, and finish. So until today, 25 years later, I just didn't want you to waste the time that I have wasted. I have gone to a lot of UN meetings, including UNEP in Nairobi, and I can tell you, the only thing they can do is to endorse you, but you have to do all the work yourself. But if you want to get something really done, I think Catalyst 2030 can be a good platform. It is also gaining a lot of traction, a lot of recognition.
Okay, excellent, Jack. Thank you for the contribution. We can hear that it's better to, in your opinion, to have the UN in the background, and maybe let's take. So maybe I'd like to piggyback on this, Jack. Maybe some of the members in this call were asking me, what is it that Catalyst 2030 could support directly all the countries here? For the time being, there have been a convener, like allowing us to kind of gather here on this platform. But what could they do beyond that, in your experience, Jack?
I think that the Catalyst 2030 can do what we want to do. That means it is not a secretariat helping us. It is we helping ourselves. Therefore, as an entity, you must understand what is Catalyst 2030 is us, right? So if we were to say, we want this to happen, then we ask each other, then how do we get it happen? And now we got John hands up, and maybe John can add on that.
John, please go ahead.
Thanks for that, Jack. Actually, I just want to respond as well regarding a question on the United Nations and along the lines of working with and advocating with the governments. So just for information of everybody, Catalyst 2030 Global is a working group called Working with the UN and Governments. So there's really an intention to involve the United Nations system in the work that social entrepreneurs and also Catalyst 2030 are doing. But as a chapter, it's also, as an ASEAN chapter, it's an ongoing conversation that we're having in terms of how do we advocate, how do we lobby for SEs across the region. For sure, as you have been sharing a while back, there's different levels of policies, there's different levels of legislations in the countries, and definitely there's a lot of wisdom that we can take from there. But the next question is, in the region, how do we do that? How do we lobby in terms of policies and recognition in the ASEAN Secretariat, or maybe the ASEAN Business Advisory Council, who actually the lead or the president was that is actually my former boss. So these are conversations that hopefully we can have in the future as a chapter of Catalyst 2030. Because I think going back to the intention of this forum that Natharun actually is leading, so it's actually intended to open that conversation so we can strategize how we can pursue that advocacy, making sure that social entrepreneurs are in decision-making tables, and we're not just mere subjects of policies and legislations. So this is just the start. Hopefully we can see you guys in the next sessions. I mean, we're not yet ending, but that's just perspective sharing as well from the Secretariat's point of view. Back to you, Nat.
Thank you very much, John. And yes, we do need to acknowledge that there are already some platforms that Catalyst 2030 have put together. And as Jack said rightly, we are in the driving seat. And I do, in fact, understand that also, you know, there are some resources that could be made available from Catalyst 2030 Global. But what we need to do first is define like a concrete action. I'd like maybe, if you allow me, to answer to Denise's wish, where you know, she would like to see a community where she shares a distribution channel for ASEAN social enterprises. I wanted to share that, and John has been talking at the ASEAN level. There is a concrete initiative supported by GIZ, where they have put kind of a digital marketplace that try to link all ASEAN actors together. I need to find, because I talked with them a few months ago. I have the contacts, and their platform for the time being is not addressing social enterprise. It's more kind of business in general, but they were really interested to kind of get into that social enterprise space, and they were not sure how to do that. So maybe that could be as well a concrete follow-up action, exploring how we could engage with them. They already have a digital platform in place, so I can definitely make the connections for the one interested. Denise, please go ahead. You raise your hand. No, it was a thumb up. Okay, I think my eyes are getting really too old. It's terrible. Anyway, all right. In terms of follow-up action and needs as well, there is. John also shared. John also shared a link, Denise, related to Catalyst 2030 markets. So you can share that, and we can all share that if interested. An important beyond the regulation, an important component is really access to finance. I mean, finance is key, right? Because you need that to grow the ecosystem. You need that to grow and sustain the operation of your company, to scale that. And it's interesting to see that, you know, of course, depending on the different economic situation of each of the country that we represent, there are different potential. And I could definitely feel that from Singapore, you know, there is already a lot of strong capacity. Maybe in Indonesia as well, right? There is also a strong capacity there. So I was wondering, because this is also one of the work that Catalyst 2030 is trying to engage, how to make access to finance more easily available to each of the actors, part of the social enterprise ecosystem in each of the countries. Would you see any opportunity here to kind of engage and collectively, you know, advocate or work together? Because some of those actors are regional actors.
Yeah, I think funding is very easy if your plan is very good. If your plan is very small and the funding is not easy, yeah. If your plan is a loss-making business, then of course there is no funding. So everything go back to how it works. So for example, good market. We talked to Amanda Kiesel how to help her monetize, because she has a lot of people selling products but never measure how much was sold. There's no payment gateway. There's no, it's like a membership place rather than a facilitation. So we bring the Tata Consulting Services to try to turn this into a digital platform whereby you can actually measure and promote and all that. So this is ongoing. We hope she's right now under a lot of stress because of Sri Lanka current crisis, and most of her business is in Sri Lanka and they are going bankrupt. So it's very stressful for her. She's a very good person. We are trying to wait for the stability and to work on those items. What I think is that we must start with being interested in one another, because right now we're only interested in ourselves because that's what we know. So if we start to become interested in one another, we start to see opportunity, how to scale. And then on your side is just say, what do you want? Because the moment you know what you want, it tells you what to do. But if you don't know what you want, it's very difficult to go to somewhere. Yeah, just say what you want first. Even if it cannot happen, just say what you want first. Imagine it, and then it will start. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Jack. Would anybody else have any thought related to this? Access to finance, how to work, with donors, venture capital firms, impact investors, etc., etc. And is there something we could do collectively?
Yeah, maybe I share a little bit from our experience. We have few impact investors. We have VC also supporting us. Now we have some angels in the beginning, including ourselves when we first started. I think in Indonesia context and a whole lot more, there's that integration sense where even the traditional VC starts talking about impact and purpose and everything, and they have director of sustainability and ESG, as I mentioned before. But the idea is, we also, Jack is right in the sense that we really need to know what we want. Very clear that we know what we don't want. We are also in Greenhope very careful in selecting partners. We do feel it when we talk to different funders if our values are different. We have to have strong values such that you can feel it when people have different values than yours. And that is important, because if you take money from somebody whose values are different, that is really, really tough. Your life will be miserable down the road. That's one learning. Second learning is that to find those who have similar values, that's where the value of networks, the value of, if you have friends, it's almost always the partners we receive funding from have similar values, and a lot of them, if I reflect back, always comes from friends. Yeah, it could be some known VC, but it comes from a friend route, so that even within that VC, there's a partner who really advocate and manage and really rooted for our mission, So that is key. Referrals, getting it from the tribe, similar tribe, and be willing to also say no if you feel like this is not the right partner, rather than you take the money and you bond yourself for like very miserable life down the road. So that's some of our experience. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Tommy, for sharing those important principles in terms of how to engage and to access funding. I saw Ria had her hands up. Ria, would you like to say something?
Yeah, well, Panabix just actually turned 1, and we just really survived bootstrapping. I guess the main issue that we have encountered is that we're too young, and some funding requires a certain number of years of operations. We've been applying to a lot of incubators, accelerators, who've been really helpful in connecting us to VCs, who are also open speaking to us. We also get a lot from LinkedIn as well. But like what Tommy said, there has to be like I guess a value fit in terms of being like-minded in terms of values, because some VCs are after something else, but I feel that we resonate the most, of course, with impact investors. In terms of help, so I guess like most VCs pay attention to scale up social enterprises here in the Philippines than early stage ones, and it's hard to get traction, of course, if you don't have the resources as well. So we would join a lot of competitions. We haven't tried crowdfunding, but it's in the plan as well. And we do a lot of grant applications as well. But what would help us probably is if anyone has, like, let's say, interactions and have received funding, let's say from organizations like USAID, I'd love to know the process, because I've been seeing a lot of call for applications as well. But like me, I'm quite clueless in terms of applying to these things. So that would help me in terms of probably accessing funding.
Can you send me your deck and I will ask you a lot of questions, then it will provoke you to do more for yourself. Yeah.
For
Just
that,
send me
thanks.
your deck. Yeah. Because it doesn't matter who. It matters that the plan is a good one and the team is a good one. And that the market is ready for it, right? And you have the ability to deliver. These are the questions. So if you send that, I will bombard you with a lot of questions, and I think you will be more ready for the money. Okay. Money is full. There are so much money flooding. They cannot find good idea. They are just too much money. Don't worry about money. It is the good idea that is absent. And the good entrepreneur, the smart entrepreneur. Yeah, these are the two main things.
Okay, that's good. Maybe actually an idea. Tell me what you think about that. Tommy mentioned that what was really important, was funders, and Jack also, I think, mentioned that donors, funders, investors that understand basically your enterprise mission and that really wants to accompany you, not to take control and divert, right? And so Ria, you mentioned the impact investors that are more aligned, in terms of principle with this goal. So I was wondering, to what extent you would think it's a good idea, because all of us, we are connected to investors, to impact investors, right? That some of them may be active in the region, and we know that they have already invested in some project in our country. Do you want to try to, we do a Google Doc, we share, the contacts, we have, the organization that we have, that has been, supporting specific enterprises or program in our country, and that we know may be interested in other countries as well. We could even provide some of the characteristics attached to those projects. So, for example, I know that one of the sustainable agriculture projects that is operating in Cambodia, coming from Hong Kong, is supported by a donor in the Netherlands, right? And maybe that donor in the Netherlands could be interested, in another similar project or in a equivalent sector in one of your countries, right? So that could be also a concrete, follow-up action, sharing that and believing also that you are all connected to a solid cohort of possible organization that has potential to scale up, right? I think that's an important component too, because unfortunately, investors, many of them, they will look really at this potential. What do you think? Right. So, okay, so we can try.
I think it's a great idea.
Okay, so that's something that maybe we can.
If you want to know what is the opportunity, you only need to define what is the problem. And if you can say the problem is like this and it's very large, look for problems that are very, very big, right? And you say this needs a system change, and here is the plan, and if the money is available, this plan will produce this result. I think those are lacking, very lacking. So it doesn't start with money first. It's like you want to marry a man and then you say, all right, where is the man with money? I think it's not the right approach, You have to say, is this a good fit, right? And then how does the two mission blend? Yeah.
Yes, definitely, Jack. I mean, I do agree that money is not the answer, and of course, you need to be ready, right? And then you need to find the right match. Sounds good. So, look, everyone, we are really on schedule, and we are going 10 minutes toward the end of the session. We have already identified a few actions, but I'd really like to open the floor another time in order to see if any one of you would have any, suggestion in terms of action that could be undertaken by, a pool of countries that we are representing here. Is there any other suggestion? All right, then. I think it's been a long session. So, Jack, would you like to say something? Before we close.
I think session like this will be forgotten, and we would have done nothing today, right? Unless we start to look for some opportunity to work with each other. Some of you already have plans, and Tommy is visiting me. He's going to think how this biodegradable plastic is going to go into different angles. And I, of course, try to think what's the solution, and fires really very interesting to know how to help. And whatever is a bad environment, let's say, oh, the government is not efficient, UN is useless, whatever, just take it as normal. It's like that. And then say, despite of that, what shall we do? And if you want to know what to do, you just have to state what is the problem and find a very big one. Find the biggest problem you don't like, because you have to don't like. If you like that problem to continue, then that is not a problem, because it doesn't motivate you. If you found a problem that you really, really don't like, then you will have a lot of energy to go and solve it. And then you have to go beyond your capability, because your own personal capacity is very small. Even the biggest social entrepreneur in Singapore, in the world, there is only one that actually succeeded in massive scale, that is Bragg in Bangladesh. But everybody else is very small. Even Muhammad Yunus is very small, right? So the only solution that can help go very fast is if we help each other. And you have to believe that the other people want to help you. You have to believe that, that they want to help you. Then you ask for help. And don't be shy and say, I would like this. And forget about Bill Gates, USAID, or a big name, because, it's like talking about, like, can I marry Tom Cruise? No need, okay? Just go to the one who loves you and go to the solution that is practically possible. You just need to say, here is my identify this problem, and I think this is the opportunity we are having. And from there, it starts to develop. Yeah, but you have to think of very big problem. If you think of very small problem, you are actually having a lifestyle business. You're just trying to be a heropreneur, to say, I am a very good guy, and then I put it on the Facebook, and every day you are doing like small business, right? So try to think very, very, very big. And if it's so big you cannot do yourself, that is where your mood to collaborate will happen. Yeah, start with sending each other problem. I'm ready to listen to all your proposal, and we won't take equity, we just help you for free, and then we will connect you to the people who might be helpful for you. And every time you have question, you just ask. We'll try to see who has the answer.
Yes, thank you very much, Jack, for those thoughts that could be even closing thoughts. So maybe I'm not going to try to wrap up, but I really found that it's quite reassuring to see that there are a lot of similarities in terms of social enterprise ecosystem, and What I wanted to say is that definitely, despite the fact that, you know, we come together and there, like we are 6 countries tonight, and they're really like experts. You're all having a lot of expertise in the space. It's not easy to kind of find, you know, possible linkages, right, across, and it will take maybe more time to kind of think this through. Certainly, I was not expecting that we would do that in 30 minutes. But at least what is very important is that we have established a connection. I think that before the call, you know, I didn't know like most of you. And now I can understand basically how the work that we're doing in Cambodia could connect as well with each of your country context. And that is something I think that is already very important. As Jack said, what is even more important is now to think, maybe just to be active in kind of keeping in touch, not for the sake of keeping in touch, but really for the sake of saying, okay, you know, how could we be of help one to the other? Personally, I mean, in terms of access to finance in Cambodia, there has been a few successes. I'm happy to kind of share that on the individual basis. If one of you know, you wonder how to engage more with, you know, one of the actor, or whether the UN or USAID or others, you know, there may be best practices that I'm happy to share. Yeah, let's definitely, I think, hopefully continue the discussion. Catalyst 2030 platform is there for that. And I wanted to thank first John, that really provided a very discreetly but a very important support, connecting us, providing as well, you know, the platform, the promotion. He's been doing that not only for this session, but other session as well. And he's also coordinating many different platforms related to Catalyst 2030. So thank you, John, for that and for your time. And thank you for all of you for your time, all speakers, for making yourself available. It's quite late in the evening or very early in the morning. Again, a special thought to your face. It must be like 5 a.m. now for you. So yeah, thank you for the hard dedication. Who says
just
that,
remember,
you know,
that the Catalyst 2030 spirit is about helping each other. We don't need payback. We want to help. Yeah. So when you ask for help, also try to help another person. Yeah, try. And when you have this culture, then everything will be work like karma, you know. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. So thank you very much to all of you. I think for the one of you that wish to be connected, I mean, I think we have more or less each other's email. But if one of you, you know, missed it, then please do reach out to me, to John, or anyone, and we'll be happy to help. So, John, would you like to, you know, say something as well as a closing remarks?
Okay, just gonna be quick because it's already 10:30. My time, at least. Thank you, first of all, to Natharun, because she's really the one who pushed for this session to be had today as part of the Catalyzing Change Week. Thanks, of course, to all our members who joined the panel. It's, for most of you, it's my first time. It's our first time to engage with you, so it's really great to have you here with us, and hopefully you guys can attend future meetings and also collaborations. To the people who are not yet members of Catalyst 2030, I'd like to invite you to information sessions that we're having this week as well. I put in the details over chat. Yeah, I guess that's all. Thank you so much. And it's a great opportunity to have this conversation. And yep, let's continue advocating for the Sustainable Development Goals.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Thanks. Thanks, Jack.
Thanks.
Very insightful. Thanks.
Thanks,
Stay
Jack.
in
Bye,
touch.
everyone.
Yeah, bye.
Together.